Well, hello from London, England, where it's thankfully a few degrees cooler than the record temperatures earlier in the week. We've got customers across the time zone on this webinar, so if you'd like to let us know where you're joining from, please feel free to pop that in the chat. We'll give you a hello. So hello from Denver, Colorado, Austin, Texas, California, New York City, Orlando, Atlanta, Boston, Portland, Oregon. I've been watching the World Athletics from Oregon this week. Atlanta, Virginia, Indianapolis, Washington State, Utah. Well, we've got them all covered. So as I say, thank you to everyone that's joined nice and promptly. I think we'll get going now on our webinar. So without further ado, let's kick off. So welcome everyone to this webinar and thank you for joining us today. I know you're all really busy people, so thank you for taking the time to join us for the next 30 minutes or so. I'm John Oliver and I'm joined by Faisal Akhtar. We're from the customer team here at NC Squared and we'll be your hosts for today's webinar. A bit of housekeeping first. This is a one-way only webinar, so we're the only ones on camera and audio, including any recording. If you would like to ask a question, please do so using the Q&A panel on the right-hand side. Any other comments, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll get to those at the end of the webinar. We've also got a couple of quick polls for you, so when they pop up, please just vote by clicking the answer that appeals to you. There's no right or wrong answers, and I promise we're not trying to catch you out. So to today's agenda. Very shortly, I'll be handing over to Faisal, who'll take you on a whistle-stop tour of the new features in our latest release. We'll have some time after that for any of your questions, so again, do pop them in the Q&A panel when you think of them. We'll answer them at the end. And finally, we'll wrap up with next steps and takeaways for you. So before we jump into the features in detail, let's just recap why we're here today. The latest version of Distribution Engine by NC Squared is called Jellyfish. It was released on July the 5th, so you may already be using it, and we know that quite a few customers have already installed. The upgrade is seamless and preserves all of your configuration and settings. It's available on the App Exchange today, and it's at no additional cost to customers, so you can choose when to upgrade. But remember, we will start to push this to customers from the week of August the 8th. So now I'll hand over to my colleague Faisal, who'll take you through some of the new features in Distribution Engine. Faisal.
Thank you, John, and a warm welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So what do we have for you in our latest release? So we've introduced the ability to auto-convert leads. So instead of generating leads and then converting them to contacts once they've met some qualification criteria, wouldn't it be great if you could automatically convert leads to accounts, contacts, and opportunities? Well, now you can with our new lead auto-conversion module. Our tags page has had a redesign. It's got a new look and structure, still providing the same core functionality as before, but now with the ability to assign or unassign tags to multiple users at once. It now also shows dynamic tag usage information. We've also introduced a new team performance page based on client feedback. This gives an overview of recent team performance, allowing an easy way to manage this across team members by adjusting tags right from within the page. And finally, we're continuing with the reskin of the application. You'll remember in Impala, we redesigned the availability pages so they were in line with the look and feel of the distribution teams page. This time, we focused our attention on the distribution logs and settings pages, which have a new look. We've also introduced custom capping periods and made some changes to our widget. So to kick things off with lead auto conversion, we have Tom's, our newest member of the team, and he'll talk about why we've introduced this feature and show you how easy it is to set up via the user interface.
Organizations can spend a lot of time managing duplicate lead records or manually converting leads into accounts, contacts, or opportunities. We have introduced lead auto conversion to automate these processes and allow your team to save time and focus on more important tasks instead. You can now configure a new optional auto conversion step from within our distribution classifier. This new feature works together with our existing lead matching capability. Let's have a look at how to set this up. First, navigate to the Distribution Classifier tab and find the Auto Conversion section. Before enabling this, you can add a delay filter. For example, if you have a lead enrichment process running, you can specify to wait for it to finish before auto conversion happens. This feature allows you to wait for leads to be at a specific state before classification runs. Let's add a filter. In my example, I only want the classification to apply to leads that were created yesterday. Next, we can set up the rules for auto-conversion. These rules allow us to specify what will auto-conversion do in different scenarios. For example, you can manage your duplicate leads by auto-converting them if the classifier has found a matching lead. Let's have a closer look at this rule. Here, we have specified that this should only apply if a matching lead has been found. And the action is to deduplicate. Let's add a new rule. You can also auto-convert leads if the classifier has found a matching account or a matching account and contact, as you can see here. Combining this with a filter will allow you to auto-convert leads that meet specific criteria. For example, leads that have reached a particular stage in the nurturing process. Let's add a filter. In this example, this will only apply to leads that are at the status qualified. And again, here we can specify what action should we take, whether to auto-convert or do not convert. Now that we have set up our rules, we can go ahead and enable auto-conversion. This new lead auto-conversion feature is a great way to automate your lead deduplication processes and other time-consuming lead conversion processes.
Well, thanks for that introduction, Faisal, and thanks to our newest member of the team, Toms, who prepared and recorded that demo. So now it's time for our first poll, so get ready with your voting fingers. The question should be on the bottom right of your screen, and I'll leave it there while we continue the feature overview. We know lots of our customers ask us about lead auto conversion in the past. This question is really to gauge how those of you on the call feel it would fit into your organization. So while you're contemplating that, I'll hand you back over to Faisal to take you through some more new features.
Thanks, John. So the next feature we'd like to talk about is tags, and Tom's is going to give you an overview of tags and how these have changed in this release.
First, we will look at what tags are and how are they used. After that, we will look at the changes introduced in Jellyfish. Scenarios that require records to be routed based on specific criteria, for example for acknowledge, can be tricky to set up with just distribution logic and filters alone. To help with this, we have a feature called tags. Tags are a great way to mark your team members with information to later match them to the records that need to be distributed to them. For example, people have different skills, work in different territories, have different levels of experience or seniority, and speak different languages. Distribution Engine allows you to route records dynamically based on these attributes using the distribution tags feature instead of hard coding this into the distribution logic. To get started, you can create a collection of tags. In my example, I call it product, and I'll add 2 example products. And I'll go ahead and create the tag collection. Now you can add further tags. You can also add tags from field in Salesforce, for example, a pick list. Next, you can add tags to your users, and then you can use these tags in your distribution logic to dynamically match records to the relevant team members with the matching tag. In the Jellyfish release, we have redesigned this part from the ground up to ensure an attractive, intuitive interface throughout the app. The new Tag Collections page allows you to easily create, view, and manage your tag collections. From here, you can see where this tag collection is used in your distribution setup. The new Tag Assignment page allows you to view, assign, and remove tags to team members easily. You can also apply tags to multiple team members at once. These new features are a great way to speed up your distribution setup, day-to-day management of DE, and onboarding of new team members.
So thanks once again to Tom's for that demonstration, and that brings us to the next poll. Once again, this should appear on your bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and you can answer when you're ready. We know that customers that use tags in Distribution Engine really love them, and it can really simplify your setup. But we also know that not all customers do use them. So let us know where you fit. Once again, I'll leave that poll running while we hand back to Faisal for a couple more new features.
Thank you, John. So next up, we have our performance management feature. So let's see how this can help to keep track of your team's performance and easily adjust tags used for weighting and capping. So let's talk about the new performance page. Quite a few customers told us they manage their lead or case distribution based on the performance of their team members, and they asked for a way to manage this in DE. We've introduced the new performance page to help facilitate this. The performance page provides an overview of your team's recent performance, such as hours worked per team member over your chosen time period, as well as a number of other metrics. The metrics shown on the page will depend on your team's configuration, and we're open to suggestions of other metrics to include in future releases. So let's show you what this looks like in the app. So if users are in a lead distributing team, you'll be able to see the conversion rate for those users. If they're in a case or opportunities team, it will show the close rate. And if they're using time to action, it will show each user's average time to action, as well as the hours worked over the selected time period. If they're using tag collections for managing weighting or caps, it will show you the tags from these collections that each user has and allow managers to edit these. For example, you may want to weight distributions so that higher performing reps receive more records. The performance page allows you to manage tag assignments from the tag collections used for tag-based weighting and tag-based caps. So the purpose of this new page is to show if people are performing as they should be, and if they aren't, giving managers or admins a place to edit or update those tags. So for example, Sandy here has performed particularly well this week, so I'm going to move her from being a tier 3 rep to a tier 2 rep. And just being able to do that here rather than having to go back to the tags page makes this a lot quicker and easier. And finally, we're going to take a look at some of the other enhancements in this latest release. Let me finish off by showing you a few more enhancements that we've made in our latest release. These include a redesign of our logs and settings pages, the ability to define custom capping periods, and enhancements to our widget. So let me cover these off in turn. So let's kick off with the logs page. The logs page has been redesigned with a new structure. We've turned it into a hub for all logging information in DE. The distribution logs tab includes logs for assignments as it's always done, You have the ability to filter by dates, statuses, objects, and teams. In addition, we have column sort for assignment data name, object, team, distributor, and assignee. You can view more information on the assignment by single-clicking a row, which will open up this very useful side panel. And we have a search facility here on the top right. We've moved the classifier logs for territory and lead matching to this tab, and we've also added new logging for auto conversion, deduplication, and object sync actions. So all logs are now shown in a consistent way. Moving forward, all new logging information will be accessible from this central hub. The settings page has also had a new lick of paint. We've consolidated and reorganized settings for the whole app, including classifier logging and the existing distribution settings in one place. We have a new advanced settings page for processing mode and frequency, so information on how Distribution Engine runs is now more visible. In response to customer requests, we've introduced a way of reporting on Distribution Engine users, so bringing together managed package license usage and team membership information that was previously separate. In addition, you now have the ability to export a list of users as a CSV file. Here at the bottom, you'll find our export-import options, which, if you remember from Impala, allows import and export of teams and tag collections. So the settings page is now more intuitive and provides more intelligent options under sensible headings. Reporting on users and managed package licenses is more transparent, and export of users allows easier tracking outside of Distribution Engine, as well as export and import options all in one place. Another great feature we've added into Jellyfish are custom capping periods. Previously, time-based caps could be set at half-hourly, hourly, weekly, or monthly intervals. We've listened to feedback from customers who asked for more control over the period. What we've introduced in this release, across both team and distributor caps, is the ability to define how long you want your capping period to be. So this can be 5 minutes, or it can be 31 days, or anything in between. So you've now got the flexibility to set capping at intervals that work for you. The widget was developed to allow users to self-manage their daily workload, including viewing their assignments, toggling themselves on or off, or requesting more work when they had spare capacity. In Jellyfish, it's had a couple of enhancements. Firstly, we've added a My Work section, which shows up to 5 records that a user has been assigned. And if they click the Assign to Me link, they can view all of the records assigned to them via a separate modal. In addition, you can now also view missed SLAs. A countdown is shown for each record's remaining SLA time under the Assign to Me heading. Users are able to sort the Assign to Me section so that those with the shortest remaining SLA time are shown first. The widget is available in both Classic and Lightning versions of Salesforce and can be added to console and standard applications. We feel it is a nice way to bring DE into people's workflows and lets them manage their work and gives them a little more information on what DE is doing for them.
Well, thank you, Faisal and Toms, for those excellent overview and demonstrations of the new features of Jellyfish. I'm sure everyone will agree they did a great job. So before we get to some questions, I'll also pop up the final poll of the day. With all the new features we have introduced over the last few releases, I know it can be tricky for some customers to keep up with the latest best practices for using Distribution Engine. So we're considering running some short tips and tricks webinars. The poll is really to get your opinion on how you'd like those to run. So while that's on screen for you, let's get to some questions. I can see there have been quite a few coming in during the presentation, so thank you for those. We've got a few minutes to answer some of these, and I've got our product and support teams in the background to help me out with any tricky ones. So thanks to my colleagues for that. If we don't get to your question on the broadcast, we will still try to follow up with you and answer them afterwards. So without further ado, let's take some of the questions. So the first one came in a while back, and it was about the lead auto conversion demonstration. And it says, I think, how do you set up the rules for how duplicates are identified? So this is, you've got a couple of options. You use the classifier's lead matching functionality. So that's the distribution engine classifier lead matching. And that in itself builds on the Salesforce duplicate rules. So there is an option to not use the default Salesforce ones, but build your own instead. So hopefully that answers your question, and thanks for submitting it. Second question, is there a limit as to how many tags can be assigned to a single user? The short answer is no, there's no practical limit within the application. There is a limit to the number of tags that can be in a single collection, which is 1,000. However, there's no reason that a single user can't have lots and lots of tags, more than you could ever need, I imagine. Quick one on the session being recorded. Yes, it is recorded, and you will receive a follow-up. So you'll get a recording of the full webinar, which you can share with your colleagues. That will come out a couple of days' time. Once we've checked that the recording's all in order, it will go to you by email. So question about user license page, and will removing a user from the license page remove their license from the installed package area of setup? Let's just think. So yeah, if you remove them from Teams in Distribution Engine, it won't by default remove their managed package. However, I think Faisal's nodding. If you do the reverse, if you remove the managed package license, then it will remove them from the setup.
Yeah, that's
setup
correct,
from Distribution Engine. Nearly got myself the wrong way around there. And then there's one more question I can see. Before in the settings page, when you saw the license users, it would tell you what teams they were on and whether they were active in that team or not. That does not seem to happen anymore. So the feature is still there. It's on the side panel, which you can expand for each user. We also allow to remove from all teams or individual teams from the panel. So that new license management screen that Faisal showed you will give you a more holistic view of where they're used across the system, and also being able to remove from multiple teams at once. There's one more question that's just come in privately. So around the performance page, that was, how long do the performance metrics go back? So performance uses distribution logs. So you can track performance for the duration for which you retain performance, for the duration which you retain distribution logs. So it's up to you on your settings of how long you retain logs, but the performance will look back for that long. And last call for any more questions. And while you think of one final question, I'll just end that final poll. And one final check for questions. No, I think that is it. So before I take you through the next steps, I'd just like to thank you for taking part in the polls and to summarize the results. So when it came to leads, we saw pretty much a 50-50 split between those of you that thought that it would fit into your organization, and that's pretty much what we expected, which is why we made it an optional step at the start of your workflow. So if you want to use that feature, you can, and if you don't, then it's completely optional. When it came to the tags, it was really good to see nearly 80% of you are already using tags in some way, whether it's both or just dynamic or just static, and around 22% weren't using it at all. If you're not using tags and you wonder how they might fit into your configuration, please do reach out to us and we can give you some tips and tricks. And of course, the documentation is on the knowledge base. And speaking of tips and tricks, the final poll around how you'd like to receive information on best practices and configuration setup, that is an overwhelming majority of wanting to see that and wanting to see both live and recording. So stay tuned for more information on that. So we've seen features to make managing teams easier with the new tags user interface and the performance screen. We've seen a way to automate lead conversion and deduplication with our lead auto conversion feature. Finally, we saw a few more updates to the functionality. There's more flexibility to time-based caps with custom cap durations. Then with our enhanced widget, you can get more information for your reps and agents. Finally, we saw the new look and feel to various pages, including logs and settings. There's tons of other small improvements, so please check out the release notes for full details. And speaking of which, there's three main next steps that I'd like to point you towards. First of all, whether you've already installed or you have that scheduled in the next few weeks, I'd encourage you to check out the release notes. They're on our knowledge base at help.nc-squared.com/jellyfish. That has details of all the new features that you've seen today, as well as a full guide to the upgrade procedure. Next up, if you are ready to self-upgrade, just go to the Distribution Engine App Exchange listing and hit the Get It Now button. Finally, as a reminder, we'll start pushing the new release to customers who haven't yet upgraded in the week commencing August 8th. And actually, I've just seen that was a final question from one of our listeners today. So there you go. There's your answer to that one. If you would prefer us to push to your org earlier, or you've got any other upgrade questions, please email us on support@nc-squared.com. All that remains for me to say is a big thank you for your time today and for being our customers. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and I'll hand over to Faisal.
Thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we hope you enjoy the new features in Jellyfish.
Goodbye.